Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. So it's kind of a third part in a little series here about AIPAC. They'll be linked below, but the first one's about what AIPAC is. The second one we did Tuesday, which is about how influential AIPAC is and where they spend their money. And today we're going to talk about how AIPAC is funded. Now, I went into this with the idea of researching the top 10 donors to, and some of them are foundations, but the top 10 donors to AIPAC and see how many of them are Israeli citizens. When it comes to a foundation, say that whoever started the foundation is dead. Now we'll just say, then I look at not who runs it, but who founded it, if they were Israeli citizens. And I ended up being surprised in what I found. And I don't know if it's more nefarious or less nefarious than what I was looking for. I kind of feel like it's more. Because the answer is only 1 in 10 of the top 10 are Israeli citizens. Now, a very important one. And the story ends up about being a foreign people living among you. And I only say foreign because they take all their money and they become wealthy. And then they use all their philanthropy for a foreign country. Like, what if I became just phenomenally wealthy and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna become a philanthropist. So I'm do all my philanthropy in Hungary. That doesn't make any sense, because just kind of get out. Jack, get out, go back to Hungary, you know? No, I'm doing my philanthropy here, because here's where all my people are. All the people I know here. I mean, I got family over there and stuff, but they don't talk to us because they got stuck behind the Iron Curtain and all that, and they're furious. So anyways, but even if that wasn't the case, my allegiance is here. And so what we're going to find out is these people, their allegiance isn't here. So I'm going to swap to this browser. I'm not going to go full screen because you see there's a million tabs, obviously. But this is, so I asked Grok what were the top 10 donors to AIPAC, and one of the problems is here at the end of the reply: the lack of mandatory disclosure for AIPAC's 501c4 contribution obscures the full donor picture. Some argue this opacity allows AIPAC to wield disproportionate influence without accountability, while supporters claim it protects donor privacy. So obviously we already know the story that AIPAC should be registered under FARA as a foreign agent, because they're doing everything they do is for a foreign country. They're not doing it for American Jews. That's the ADL, trying to stop anti-Semitism. Though Jonathan Greenblatt the other day slipped up and said our national anthem in Israel is, maybe I shouldn't say our, he said something like that, their national anthem. Obviously, even the ADL, which is just working on stopping anti-Semitism in the United States, is doing it on behalf of Israel, not Jews here. And this one is very clear. All of the wealth of AIPAC, and that's being funneled into AIPAC, is going to politicians and different groups to support Israel, not Jews in the United States. And so that we can't even see the full donor picture of who's donating, because what if 5% of the funds come from Israelis? 10%, 15%, what if it's 1%? Can they register under FARA? But we can't even see. My apologies about the audio. I'm adding this in outside of the studio because the story broke on Wired. Check this out. A dark money group is secretly funding high-profile Democratic influencers. So why is this a story? This is a story because it's dark money. Let's go see what dark money is. Dark money refers to funds spent on political activities or campaigns where the source of the money is not disclosed. These funds typically come from nonprofit organizations such as 501c4 or 501c6 groups in the U.S., which are not required to reveal their donors. Now let's go back to AIPAC and let's look at what they are. We just covered this. I'm just adding this in here. Look at this, the lack of mandatory disclosure for AIPAC's 501c4 contributions. So this is dark money that's being used by AIPAC. So they've got a problem with this chorus group in the Wired article funding different influencers and people doing YouTube, because it's dark money and it can't be used to influence our election. But AIPAC specifically uses dark money because we can't see a transparent thing of who the donors are. And I think this is a really important point to add. Now back to the episode. So let's go here to the 10 donors and we're going to look at their backgrounds. So number 1 donor is 7.4 million. This is Jan Koum. And this is just in the 2023-24 cycle. He did 7.4 million. He's a Ukrainian-American billionaire, just like J.B. Pritzker in the last episode, and co-founder of WhatsApp. Born to a Jewish family, etc., etc., etc. I went over here and got this article. Oh, it's going to have to reload all of these articles on the top. Whatever. And I got this article and it just says he's not Israeli. I tried everything. I went on Yandex and asked Alice, which is their AI. No. Okay. Now, number 2 donor is Miriam Adelson. And so she donated $5 million to AIPAC, primarily through the Republican Jewish Coalition, RGC, which we've looked at before in a previous episode, in the 23-24 cycle. So that's 2/3 of what the number one did, and that's just to AIPAC. And then obviously she inherited the money from Sheldon Adelson. Sheldon Adelson will be on the top 10 as well, and he's one of the more interesting ones to look at. She has an estimated net worth of $35 billion, and continued her late husband's legacy of substantial contributions to pro-Israel causes, including a $100 million donation to a Trump campaign committee in 2023. Now, listen to what that sentence says. It's so revealing. I know this is just the AI, but listen. She has continued her late husband's legacy of substantial contributions to pro-Israel causes, including a $100 million donation to a Trump campaign committee in 2023. So it's saying there clearly that she donated the $100 million to Trump campaign as a contribution to a pro-Israel cause. Because we also know from, I didn't look this up, but this is a thing where she said what she wants for this money is she wants annexation of the West Bank and the Golan Heights, I believe. And I don't know if that includes the expanded Golan Heights, because after terrible political players in the world, destroyed Assad in Syria, and now we have Al-Qaeda in charge, and we have the Christians and the Alawites being oppressed there, that obviously Israel took more of the Golan Heights. They're creating a buffer zone. Okay. Funded by the United States. Wonderful. Okay. And then you can go, I got an article over here. Yeah, I can't believe it's going to have to reload everything. This is ridiculous. Anyways, yeah, she got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What a disgrace. I'm sorry. Ridiculous. Okay. And I'll just start that one preloading. So then the Correct Foundation donated $5 million to AIEF, the American Israel Education Foundation, which is AIPAC's charitable arm. This is a Bay Area-based foundation that supports a range of Jewish and pro-Israel causes. Its significant donation to AIEF, which funds congressional trips to Israel, underscores its role in AIPAC's broader influence network. And this is going to be a reoccurring theme in the overall course of the thing. Joseph Koret was the founder of this, and he was a Russian Jew, which is now Ukraine. So we got another Ukrainian Jew here who came to this country, and he is not Jewish. Okay. And so here's the Correct Foundation and what they do. This one that donated the $5 million. And I just think it's kind of interesting. Oh, I already had a tab for this. That'll save me some time. Close it. Okay. And we leverage our resources to provide funding that is flexible, responsive, and adaptive with the goal of creating real change. Our priorities, right? Seeks to enhance the quality of life for everyone in the Bay Area, and also to ensure the vitality of the global Jewish community. So this is another thing like Sheldon Adelson, where they're also working on doing some philanthropy in America, which, so I do appreciate that part, because it's kind of the country you live in. Anyways, they do Jewish community grant making, and so together they seek to increase Jewish identification and involvement, strengthen ties between Israel and the Bay, combat anti-Semitism, support key institutions that constitute a vibrant Jewish community in the Bay Area, Israel, and Poland. And when they get to the grants down here, they say they'll only give you the grant if they the Correct Foundation accepts grant proposals by invitation only. So they'll tell you if you're allowed to do a grant proposal to them, which means it's just going to a very specific people. Okay. And then we get to number 4, the Jewish Communal Fund. This is another not Jewish person. It was created by these people. I mean, you could look all this up. There's a group of 3 of them that created it, and they're just not Israeli citizens. I did more than just grok this. This is just what I put up there. I cross-checked everything on Yandex. Jonathan Jacobson, we just saw him. There's $2.5 million. The previous one was $3.5 million. These are in 1 year. So you're going to get this amount often. Milton Cooper Trust, about $2.5 million. Did it. Not Israeli, right here we got Charles and Lynn Schusterman Family Foundation. This had another interesting story related to it, but I just decided to skip it because they gave $1.5 million to AIEF, which is the educational fund. Additional donations to AIPAC affiliated groups like Democratic Majority for Israel. Okay. Supports progressive causes alongside hawkish pro-Israel groups like the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Sounds like it's going to be a terrible organization if you did look it up. It's okay, whatever. Align with AIPAC's goals. Okay, and then we can look up them up here. It's the same thing. No and no. So Paul E. Singer Foundation, billionaire hedge fund manager, other hawkish groups like the FDD we just talked about. We're on Paul Singer here. Okay, and then Schwartz Foundation, 1.5 million, founded by Sidney Schwartz. Also, the answer is no. And then let's get to Sheldon, who's interesting. So number 10, Sheldon. Contribution $10 million to AIPAC in 2008 for its new headquarters. Significant earlier donations to pro-Israel causes. Because remember, when we're looking at these donations, they're usually just for one cycle or 1 year, right? The late casino magnate was a major Republican donor and AIPAC supporter. His contributions continued by Miriam Adelson, helped build AIPAC's infrastructure and influence. So this one's pretty interesting. And so Sheldon Adelson was not Jewish. He was just an American, born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. And then he was raised Jewish. And then he wanted an actual Israeli wife who was also Jewish, of course. And so then he got married to Miriam Adelson, and she's now funding him. Okay, so this is an article from the Ford. I'll put it in the description. Sheldon Adelson is a philanthropist like no other. So if you go down, it shows basically some major beneficiaries of who he gives his money to, right? And so here's Israel related is the category. So the birthright, which is the birthright citizenship, which allows you, I think that's the one that allows you to take your trip there, but I'm not sure if it's the one that allows you to move there as well, because they want you to go see, and then they're going to try to coax you into either just being pro-Israel if you're Jewish or moving there. So 32 million. Yad Vashem is the Holocaust Museum in Israel. That's the main one, and it's 2.8 million, which is a tiny bit of money, because ours is funded by our government. The USHMM is funded in the 9 figures, over $100 million a year. And so then basically when he gives 32 million to the birthright, that's 40% of their annual budget, 12% of the budget of Yad Vashem, 12% of the whole budget. Okay, and the IAC, 2.5 million in 2014, which is 40% of their, but okay. And you could just come down here and you could just, Friends of Israel Initiative, you could just come see them. Jewish charities here, Hebrew Senior Life, schools, non-Jewish philanthropy. So here's where he's investing into to America. And it's Johns Hopkins University, 1.6 million, UCLA Foundation, 3 million, MD Anderson Cancer Center, 1.5 million. And then over here, American Politics, American Jewish Coalition, Restore Our Future Super PAC, American Crossroads Super PAC, and 23 million, 30 million, and 4 million. I mean, you can come check this out. It'll be an article listed below. But anyways, when you go through these specific things and you just look at these specific people and what they did in the top 10, and just a ton of it is going to like build a university in Israel and stuff like that. And so my point here is what I went to look for was to see how many Israelis were funding AIPAC, because then it should be registered as a foreign agent. But no matter what, it should be registered as a foreign agent. Because if you had a group, because it's not a PAC, a group like AIPAC with a PAC, which is what they have, and you're just saying, hey, let's lobby for Ukraine. Just let's focus on Ukraine. And that's all that they're focused on. Remember, they're not focused on American Jews. They're focused on Israel. It's the pro-Israel lobby. It's not the pro-Jew lobby. Doesn't matter if you're a Jew in Israel. Doesn't matter if you're a Jew in the United States. It's the pro-Israel lobby, the country. So obviously it should be registered under FARA. But what you have is all these people coming to this country and making billions of dollars doing professions that I would not morally be able to do, because I'm not that type of person, we'll say. And then you have them take it, like, this has been a thing for all time. Like, okay, say, are you a person who says, we don't want Mexicans to come to the United States who aren't citizen and then ship all their money, at the Walmart Money Center to their tia back in Guatemala? Are you one of those people? Because this has been an issue for all time. You go back to World War II, it was the Czechoslovakians in Germany. They would bring them in to do temporary labor because their economy was the only economy in the world booming in the 30s. And the Czechoslovakians would ship the Reichsmarks out of the Reich, and it's just a problem. Now imagine the thing with the Czechoslovakians, or imagine the thing with the uh, Mexicans, not immigrants, but just people, illegal immigrants, or even migrant workers, which I think that's much more allowable that they send all the money home, because they're only saying they're going to come here temporarily. They're saying, I have no allegiance to you. I'll come 9 months out of the year and then pick, and then 3 months I'll go home and, wallow in my cash. But imagine taking that phenomena and just expanding it to, because once you get like, I think it was Miriam Adelson who had $35 billion. Like when I'm looking at how much can I spend on philanthropy, the answer is very little, because I live paycheck to paycheck. Once you get above a certain amount, especially if you're not investing anymore and you're just have piles of cash, then the sky is the limit for how much you can invest. You dump $100 million in something that's not that big of a deal for you. And imagine just all these people who are just shipping their extra $100 million, and they're all just doing projects in a foreign country, or projects in this country, but not for the citizens of this country, not even for the Jewish citizens of this country, but for the citizens of Israel, so that they could mold the politics here. It's absolutely disgusting. Kick everybody, just deport all donors to AIPAC. If you deported all donors to AIPAC, your problem would be gone. Because I'm not concerned about the Jewish person who's not donating to AIPAC, who's completely loyal to the United States. That's not like, oh, what are you doing over there? What are you up to? That's not my highest priority. Now, there are some, obviously, who are up to stuff that aren't pro-Zionist, but just the majority of the problem would be gone. Anyways, so I'd be less interested. I know it's not possible, but I would be less interested in AIPAC registering with FARA than just deport everybody who's ever donated to AIPAC. I don't even care if they're Christians. Just deport them to Israel, and Israel can mistreat them like they mistreat Christians in Israel, because that's what they do. Anyways, that's what I got for you. I thought it was interesting to look into the AIPAC stuff and see what we got. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.